in the cities of Cleveland, Cleveland Heights, and Garfield Heights. We intend this evening to allow each candidate to introduce themselves and to give a brief bio and overview of his or her platform, describing what he or she hopes to achieve if elected to a 4-year term as mayor of his or her respective city. Candidates will have approximately 8 minutes each and will each be called upon in alphabetical order. We'll begin with the candidates for the city of Cleveland Heights, and we will begin by introducing candidate Barbara Danforth. Ms. Danforth?
So I'm muted. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, good evening, Judge. It is good to see you this evening. And thank you, Omega Psi-Phi and Delta Sigma Theta, for hosting this very important forum this evening. Actually, I have roots in Delta Sigma Theta in as much as my mother was a Delta. And one of my campaign cabinet members right now is also a Delta, Tanya Horn. So I have excellent advice coming from the great sorority, even as I campaign right now. So as judges indicated, my name is Barbara Danforth, and we have an incredibly important election coming up in Cleveland Heights because it is the very first time that our city has elected a mayor. And the first term of this new mayor is going to be extremely difficult because the mayor will literally have to re-engineer the government structure and transition the culture so that it is much more resident focused. So I'm running because I know that we have one chance to make this transition right. And how we make this transition is going to impact residents in our city, not just for years, but for decades to come. So I am a lawyer. I have practiced as an assistant attorney general for the state of Iowa. I came back home to Cleveland and served as the chief prosecutor for the city of Cleveland, and then went to Cuyahoga County and served as senior legal counsel for the Cuyahoga County Department of Children and Family Services. I then went over to the nonprofit sector where I served as executive director and then CEO of the YWCA of Greater Cleveland. We served women who are homeless, victims of domestic violence, and my last project was to build 22 single occupancy apartments for teens aging out of the foster care system. I then returned back to the private sector where I served as a senior vice president for the executive search firm of Radliff and Taylor. There I provided executive search and executive coaching services for mid to large size companies throughout Northeastern Ohio. And while I was at Radliff and Taylor, I was invited to submit a proposal for an executive search for a nonprofit in Akron, Ohio. I submitted the proposal, and a month or so later, they called me back and said that they had selected another search firm to do the search. However, they asked if I would be interested in holding the job. So I interviewed for the job, and I became the CEO of the nonprofit management company that ran the largest charter school system in the state of Ohio, serving children with learning disabilities, children on the autism spectrum, children with ADD and ADHD. We had 24 schools in the state of Ohio, staff of about 1,000, and a budget of $62 million. So those are my credentials. And in terms of the things that are important to me, there are a number of things because we have a great opportunity to make some significant changes in our city. So first of all, in terms of my platform, it is economic development. And I divide that into two areas of housing and commercial development. One of the two major factors that attract people to Cleveland Heights is our amazing housing stock. We have houses, many houses that are well over 100 years old. And we also have homes that were built very recently. and everything in between. We have small mansions and starter homes and everything in between. But in recent years, our housing stock, some of our housing stock has not aged well. And as I was going house to house, getting signatures for my petition so that my name appears on the ballot, I went house to house and discovered that there were houses on many of our streets that are either vacant or not well maintained. Some of the homes that are not well maintained were owned by our seniors who in years past kept their homes very well, but in recent years, their financial and physical ability to keep their homes well maintained has diminished. And I believe that the city has a responsibility to make sure that our seniors know what programs are available to them and to provide assistance where they need it to make their homes well maintained. We also have another group of folks who are absentee landlords who have not kept their homes in appropriate maintenance. And so that is another area that we need to take a good look at. We have vacant properties, we have vacant homes. And so all of these things really need critical and urgent attention from our housing department that needs to be updated and upgraded. So that's our housing, but then we also have opportunities for commercial development. We certainly have Severance Town Center that has been languishing for many years without a plan, without a direction to move it forward. And so that is a development property that needs attention. But there are several other properties in Cleveland Heights that need attention as well. There is property on the corner of Monticello and Lee Boulevard, the Medusa building, and there's new property on the market. So we have great opportunities to do some smart, innovative commercial development. But that kind of commercial development now needs to move forward with some creativity and some strong leadership. So economic development is number one. Number two is equity and inclusion. The second, a very attractive feature about Cleveland Heights is our incredible diversity of our population. But in recent years, and particularly the last couple of years, we have retreated into enclaves of like-minded people. And so as mayor, I want to be the bridge between those enclaves. We live side by side, and now we need to learn how to work hand in hand, because it's only together will we successfully move our city forward. Then there is our city services and safety. For the most part, our city services are good, but they're not consistent throughout our city. And so they need to be reviewed, they need to be evaluated, we need to make improvements where necessary, but most importantly, our good city services need to be consistent throughout the city. Last but not least is safety. For the most part, we are a very safe city, but in recent years, and more particularly recent months, we've had some incredibly unfortunate circumstances, criminal circumstances happen in our city. And that is complicated by the fact that our police department is down 11 officers, a situation not unique to Cleveland Heights, but is a nationwide challenge as officers are retiring, and it is very difficult to recruit new police officers. So that is clearly an area that will need some urgent attention, finding new and creative ways to attract and incentivize people to join the police force, and particularly women and minorities. So those are the three major focuses of my campaign, but there are three other areas that are very important. First is public education. In order for a city to grow and thrive, we have to have an excellent public school system. And so-
Stand forth, you have about a minute left.
Okay, thank you. Cities, our public education, environment, arts, and culture are also very, very important. But I am running because I have had 30 years of executive leadership experience. And in this first term of the new mayor that is going to be so important, it is critically important that the mayor has executive leadership experience. I have had that experience leading organizations, and I have led organizations in where the ultimate responsibility and accountability was mine. And experience in this situation is what really matters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll turn now to Ms. Melody Joy Hart, who is also a candidate for mayor in the city of Cleveland Heights. Ms. Hart.
Good evening, and I want to thank you for inviting me to this meeting. Your organizations have been at the forefront of civil rights and events all through history since you started. I'm proud to be asked to speak to you. So I'm Councilwoman Melody Joy Hart. I'm running for mayor because I love this city. And after much deliberation and talking with other mayors about what was needed, I realized that the first mayor needs to set in place the structure, the policies and procedures, and the guardrails for future mayors. When I talked to them, they said that you need leadership skills, you need civic engagement history, you need a knowledge of the city, financial acumen, and ability to be collaborative. First of all, I've been deeply involved in our community for many years. With Greater Cleveland congregations, I've walked the streets of the Noble neighborhood in order to raise housing issues to the city. I've walked all those streets and I've attended council meetings for over 4 years before I even ran for council. And when I ran, I talked about my support for the mayoral form of government and included that support on my mailers. I've spent over 30 years in finance, in the Fortune 500, the Fortune 1000, and eventually in consulting. I've worked for Delphi, Quaker Oats, Arvin Meritor, Goodyear, Signet Jewelers, and OM Group, any number of them. And I've had complex issues to handle. So when people report to me, because I was on the finance end, even though I have a CPA, I worked in finance, they had to report to me from all over the world globally about anything that had to do with their cash, their debt, liens, anything that had to do with banking. So all that, and risk management, all that came through me in order to make sure that we were handled all across the world in a systematic way. I've handled billions in cash and debt. I've also had experience in transitions. I was selected by Quaker Oats to lead the financial spinoff of Fisher-Price. That meant I had to create an all-new financial infrastructure, and I successfully did this. I've done transitions evaluating finance functions, staffing structure, controls, technology, processes, policies, and all this requires no small amount of collaboration and negotiation skills. I've demonstrated the ability to be a tough negotiator, but one that doesn't turn people into enemies. These are executive functions and why my background more than qualifies me to be our mayor. Leadership comes in many forms. East Providence went through this process a few years ago and elected a former police captain. South Euclid elected a bailiff. Maple Heights elected a banker. All these are successful mayors because they have the required skills, the required leadership. In 2019, the city voted to change the form of government because they wanted accountability. Many people I talked to said their concern was not getting a response when they called. So I want on day one to reinstate the community relations department. This is the face of the city that acts as the residents' guide and liaison to all of the operations, especially for new residents. I'll have a software that will log in the calls, and my policy on day one will be that calls must be responded to within 48 hours. This will be logged into the system. Staff must respond, even if it's a complex request and will take longer. They have to call and let the individual know when they will receive the response. This will be part of the measurement of a performance management system. Transparency also should permeate throughout the city operations. I feel frequent communication through various outlets, including social media, is important. Our budget and financials should be posted, and the format needs to be updated to a user-friendly, readable format to post every month to our website. So communication and transparency is important. Racial justice, I raised legislation along with David Russell and Mike Unger to put in place a racial justice task force, which is now meeting regularly. They're charged with covering policing, housing and economic opportunity, health and wellness, and education. And I look forward to seeing their good work and putting in place their recommendations. It's important that we look at our city and our legislation through a racial justice equity lens so that we don't disparately impact residents. I promise a strong, well-equipped police force for safety in our city, but they must police equitably. And we need to address the new ways to police. For instance, I worked with Greater Cleveland congregations to get the diversion center for those in mental health crisis in Cleveland area, rather than sending these people to jail. And I am proud that Cleveland Heights is utilizing the center. Violence prevention programs are working in Atlanta and Milwaukee and other cities. We need to look at these programs as well and put them to work here to alleviate the problems we have with some violence recently. Housing. Housing is our key asset. It needs to be restructured. The department will be restructured under me, and I will fully implement the Novak report, which includes completing the implementation of Citizen Serve and implementing Dynamo metrics, which identifies housing trends in the city to allow for critical research. I'll change our focus on housing enforcement. It should focus strategically on the worst investor-owned, vacant, and foreclosed properties to bring them into compliance with all legal tools available. This doesn't mean there won't be point-of-sale inspections, but the majority of our efforts should be focused on these bad, vacant, foreclosed, and investor-owned properties. Conversely, for homeowners, I want to use a collaborative approach to help them maintain their properties by adding a civil option for addressing homeowners rather than criminal action. Providing them on-site resources to avert them is what I want to do. And in fact, this last week, I had scheduled a meeting with the court, Housing Law and Home Repair Resource Center to discuss a diversion program for homeowners. On-site Home Repair Resource Center will be there. And instead of going through the court, they will divert to get help with our programs. They'll be told about the programs we have to assist them, and they'll form a plan together, and they'll report to HRC rather than the court. For our residents who are tenants, we need some training programs so they know what to do, and perhaps put in something for pro bono lawyers as well. Economic development is also important to our city. It improves our tax base. I would issue a directive to staff to put Severance redevelopment and Noble Triangle development as a priority, including moving the salt dump, the defunct dairy, and the dump. It's important too that we work with the public input up front before we issue an RFP so that we can tell the developers what our expectations are. And this will help us in getting better development. I love this city. I'm eager to further the work that I've already begun while working on council, and I'd like to extend that work as mayor. While my esteemed opponents have some of the skills I mentioned above, I am the only candidate that checks all of those boxes. Thank
Ms.
you.
Hart, we have about a minute.
Okay,
thank you.
I'm done. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Kahil Sarin. Mr. Sarin, I'm sorry if I misplaced the name, but I mispronounced the name, but please correct me.
So my name is Khalil Sarin, and I hope that you can hear me adequately.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you for providing this platform for all of the candidates to make ourselves known to you and introduce ourselves. As I said, my name is Khalil Sarin. I am the current Vice President of City Council here in Cleveland Heights. I have been on council for 6 years now. Before that, I served in a volunteer position on the Citizens Advisory Committee, advising council on CDBG funds, community development block grant funds. So I'll give you a brief biographical background and a brief professional background. I actually probably won't take as much of the time as I'm allotted because I need to run into City Hall and go to a public safety committee meeting. But I would like to let you know a little bit about me and give you some ways to find out more. So I am from Northeast Ohio. I was raised in East Cleveland and then Beechwood and then back to East Cleveland before settling down in Cleveland Heights with my family. I am the son of two out lesbian interracial women raised in this area and with an understanding and an attachment to the issues that we face here. In this race, I am the candidate with the most government experience. I think that that's a fair thing to say, and certainly with the only candidate with substantial elected experience. The work that I've done professionally over the last decade as a policy advisor for Cuyahoga County Council is directly relevant to the issues that we face in Cleveland Heights and to the opportunities that we have in Cleveland Heights for growth and prosperity. As an advisor to the County Council, I have excuse me. As an advisor to the County Council, I work primarily in the realms of economic development, workforce development, and community development. And over the course of the past 10 years of this new county government, I've dealt with specifically a transition from one form of government to another. I joined the staff of County Council in 2011 as the new government was taking effect. And over that time, especially in those early years, there were 4 policy staff members on the County Council staff, and everything that we dealt with came through all 4 of us. So I dealt with separation of powers issues, dealing with the creation of departments. I designed several departments at the county myself and helped to staff them as well. So this is work that I've been doing for quite a long time. And you know, both of my opponents in this race have expressed that experience matters. And I would say, yes, I think that that experience matters. But it's important that the quality and relevance of the experience matches the job that you're going for. And in this case, I think it's important that the first mayor of Cleveland Heights, who will have to deal with a variety of issues that crop up, sort of building the flying plane analogy, the issues that crop up next year and moving forward, you'll have to be able to address those issues with a level of experience that allows for adaptability. And you can only do that through mastery. You have to be able to understand local government well enough to know what you can and can't do, what the current state is, and what the possible future states might be. So for instance, one example, I think both of my competitors have mentioned the housing department. And I think that, you know, I try to correct this misinterpretation of our government as often as I can. We don't have a housing department. Cleveland Heights does not have a housing department.
That's a
We
problem.
have, it is a huge problem. We have a division of building and inspectional services that is housed within our Department of Public Safety. It seems like it could be a distinction without a difference, but it has a very important impact on housing and residential development in the city. We don't have a community development function for the city, and we've been treating a division of building and inspectional services as though it can perform community development tasks. This is just one example of why someone with local government, 21st century local government experience is important to the success that Cleveland Heights, you know, needs to see in its first term as mayor. So I think, you know, I got to rush into this public safety committee meeting, but just briefly, educational background. I graduated from the Levin College of Urban Affairs at CSU with a master's in urban studies. During that time, I was working for an organization called Policy Matters Ohio, a state policy think tank. After I received my master's, I went to work for Cuyahoga County Council in 2011. And in 2013, I began serving on the CAC. In 2015, I began serving on City Council. I ran in 2015 and was retained. And then I ran again in 2019 and was reelected. Over the course of these 6 years on City Council, I have been a leading voice on this City Council, pushing our administration and pushing my colleagues to do things in a different way, in a new way, more transparency. I was the first council member who began holding regular committee meetings on camera in council chambers so that people could see, and you can take a look at the archive video now, this was pre-COVID, so that people can see why we're making the decisions we're making. I started a trend of legislators actually writing legislation and introducing it in order to move our city forward. This wasn't something that was the done thing on. Thank you, I appreciate that. I think my background on a personal level also has some meaning here in Cleveland Heights. I was born in Cleveland Heights. I'm a Cleveland Heights native, but like many families do, I moved around to several East Side suburbs before resettling in Cleveland Heights. And I've experienced a diversity of environments. I've lived in East Cleveland, I've lived in Beechwood, and those two cities, they showed me something. They educated me about the necessity for quality, high functioning government that will allow opportunity for the residents that it serves. I, think there's a reason why I've been endorsed by pretty much every single elected that serves our community. Cuyahoga County Democratic Party,
We're gonna
Young
have to
Black
leave it
Dems.
there.
Gonna have to leave it there. All right. Well, thank you very much for this platform, and please feel free to look me up, sarenformayor.com. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. We're going to turn now to the candidates from Garfield Heights, and I'm going to turn this over to my co-moderator, Sora Denise Rucker Burton.
Thank you, Judge. As Judge Adrian just mentioned, we will now hear from our candidates from Garfield Heights. We will start with Matt Burke, but again, I just want to remind each candidate that you will have 8 minutes to introduce yourself and again, share what you have as plans to achieve in a 4-year term as mayor of Garfield Heights. So we'll start with Mr. Matt Burke.
Well, thank you for having me on here. I'd like to thank the panel and the sororities. I just probably will not take the entire 8 minutes because I do have another speaking engagement I need to get to. But just a little background about me. I've been a lifelong resident of Garfield Heights. I've been here since 1978. I believe I was about 8 years old back then, so I'm giving you my age. But the last 34, 35 years of my life I've spent as a floor covering professional working in both retail, manufacturing, and also some distribution. And that gave me a lot of experience in negotiating. I have been active in the community for over the last decade, and that was because about 10, 12 years ago, our city fell into fiscal emergency and it hit rock bottom. And it motivated me to get involved in my community. And in doing so, I started to pay attention to local government. I started to pay attention to the council and things of that nature and the finances of the city. In 2010, I ran for council, was not elected the first time. We had a pretty strong councilwoman at the time, but I had gained some momentum. And in 2013, I was elected to the council seat in Ward 6 of Garfield Heights. I ran unopposed for the next 4 terms. But during the 4 terms, my peers had elected me in 2017 to become the president of city council. And as president of city council, I was pretty instrumental at changing some of the way the meetings were run. I was very professional in how I ran my meetings and really stuck to the Roberts Rules of Order. In February of this year, 2021, former Mayor Kalova decided to leave office. And because I was a council president and a provision in our city charter, I was able to step into the role of mayor. And as the mayor of Garfield Heights, I have worked hard, long hours in trying to take the city and move it forward. I had already decided that I was going to run for mayor back in October. And in February, I get a chance to really take the reins and do what I have always dreamed about doing. But some of my goals as being the mayor was to redefine our city. I wanted to make our city trendy. I want to make our city a place, a destination to come to. The other things that needed to be addressed were serious lack of industry. You know, we have a lot of small pizza shops. We have a lot of small sandwich shops. We have doctor's offices and a lot of different small mom and pop family-owned businesses, which are important. However, to help keep those businesses thriving, we also need major industry. And in February, my initiative was to just start finding businesses. I partnered with industrial commercial properties to work with them since they had just taken over a shopping center that had been really in bad shape. And I'm proud to say today, after a lot of negotiations, we've brought on about 3 to 4 major businesses here, businesses that are $1 million payrolls and $4 million payrolls and $6 million payrolls that have revitalized a part of our city. If you take a look at our Highland Park facility here in Garfield Heights, which was formerly known as the City View Shopping Center, you'll see that Industrial Commercial Properties has put in $4.5 million into that shopping center. There are 3 brand new businesses coming, manufacturers, distributors. Those businesses play a vital role in helping us recover. I've also addressed our police by appointing the police chief and the deputy chief of police. And I've also been instrumental in helping to bring on 7 new officers. And I've elected, and along with Chief K, to really address the diversity, equity, and inclusion by making sure that these officers are a reflection of what our community is. You know, we've brought on 2 Middle Eastern officers, and I believe 2 African-American officers, and I believe an officer from the Sudan. So there is a lot of progress made here in the city of Garfield Heights. I've addressed the diversity, equity, and inclusion by not just having pushing Mayor Kalova to have virtual seminars, but I also partnered with Dr. Adrienne Fletcher Crawford, who is the Assistant Dean of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for Case Western Reserve University, to come in and have a seminar, a in-person interactive seminar with the people in the administration. And I will tell you, that was a hard task to do, because we have people that work at our administration that have been here for years. They are doing the jobs that 3 and 4 other people used to do in their case. And we've asked them, I asked them to please just keep an open mind and take this course. They've done so. Some of them, it was painful for them, but I think everybody came out of it with a positive experience. And moving forward as the mayor in Garfield Heights, I would like to attract more businesses. More businesses mean that we're going to have more revenue to share with our school systems and help our school systems grow. I will also say that I'm also working to impact our roadways here by possibly getting a road through to Rockside here in Garfield Heights from Transportation Boulevard, the extension, and also making Granger Road I-480 a full interchange. Because if we have a full interchange here in Garfield Heights,
Burke, you have one.
we have 3 more full interchanges here. We will actually have what a lot of other cities don't have. And that is a mecca for economic growth in our city. And with that, I'd just like to say again, thank you for having me on, inviting me on. I do have to go to another speaking engagement, and I wish you all a very good day and a blessed evening. Thank you.
And now thank you, Mayor Burke. I was on mute, I apologize. Now we'll hear from candidate Shayla Davis. Again, you'll have 8 minutes, Ms. Davis.
Good evening. I'm trying to cut my camera on. Give me 1 second. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shayla Davis, and I am a lifelong resident of the city of Garfield Heights. My family came here probably in 1965. So my mom was raised here as well as myself. Living in the city of Garfield Heights, I've grown to love this community. And so I have great passion for this city, which is why I decided to run for public office. I ran for city council in 2017, and I lost that election. I ran again in 2019, and I was elected to city council. If anyone understands and knows the dynamics of Garfield Heights, we are kind of operating in the 1960s. We have not come to 21st century understanding, cultural competency, or government leadership. Our government has continued to run the way it's always ran. Once I was elected, I was appointed chair of our Communications and Technology Committee. And I made a simple request. Can we have Wi-Fi in our council chambers so that community members have access to technology as they're sitting in our meetings? We got hit with the pandemic. I saw a city in huge despair and a lack of leadership really stepping up for the things that our residents really needed. We did not do COVID testing, so I reached out to the County Board of Health and brought COVID testing here to our city where everyone could participate, not just the residents of my ward. When George Floyd unfortunately was murdered, I held a citywide prayer in the city of Garfield Heights, invited all of the residents as well as our leadership to come together to really talk about and pray over our city to do what was right for everyone so that we would be an inclusive city and an intentional city. From that, I created a scholarship for Black males in our high school that either graduated in 2020 or 2019 or possibly even had a GED. And they were given $500 of my personal money to utilize for whatever their future endeavors were. That was very important to me because I know that our Black men are suffering at the helm of many things. And so as a community leader, I needed to do something different. Our seniors were suffering greatly. They were no longer able to participate in some of the senior services. So I started bringing what I could to their homes. I did multiple food drives for many of the holidays, specifically targeted for seniors. Again, this was not just for the residents in Ward 4. This was for the entire community of Garfield Heights. With all the civil unrest, I requested and wrote and created legislation declaring racism a public health crisis. But it wasn't just a resolution just to say we were doing something. It had prongs and intentional actions in there, asking that we create a diversity committee where our residents can come together and oversee things like housing, police issues, any other matters that residents felt were necessary to bring our city into a city that was inclusive. That legislation, unfortunately, I had to vote against because the language was changed. My colleagues felt that me saying that 25% of our contracts for businesses should be minority or small businesses within the city of Garfield Heights. They didn't like that language. That made them feel that I was calling them racist. So I had to stand on my principles and stand for the community and deny that legislation. However, it did pass and it came to fruition. I'm running for the city of Garfield Heights to become mayor because this is the community that I love. This is the community that finally needs to be represented by someone who puts community and people first. A 21st century is one that has up-to-date and modern technology where residents and businesses can access information quickly from their smartphones and no matter where they are. It took 9.5 months for our city to do Zoom meetings during the pandemic. Up until December, we started off doing teleconference. I pushed and begged for us to do that. Our government was so against that. And I don't necessarily know if it was just to hinder progress or just the inability to understand the importance of it. Whatever it was causing us not to be transparent for our residents. And that's what the government is designed to do. That is important to me. We must update our website. We must give community access to information, and we must provide an open and transparent government. If we are not doing that, we are not truly serving the people. I believe that economic development is the most valuable thing that we could have in this city. Garfield Heights, 480 runs across our city. There are over 180,000 vehicles that drive past the 480 highway every day past the city of Garfield Heights. You can get anywhere in 15 minutes from 480. However, those individuals are not coming to our city because we don't have prospering business. We need to be intentional about bringing small businesses and creating opportunities, innovative opportunities for those businesses to thrive in this community. I believe that Garfield Heights can be a city where people want to live, work, and play. Our leadership just must be intentional about creating that. I want to create a position for a public relations officer. That person is going to work directly with residents to hear their voices, directly with businesses to hear what the concerns are so that we can assist them. During the pandemic, I saw many of our businesses suffering. The businesses in Ward 4 didn't have opportunities to apply for those small business loans. So I reached out to the NAACP in the Urban League of Greater Cleveland and held many forums along with Cuyahoga County to give people access to that information and show them exactly what they needed to do. I was very intentional about promoting those small businesses to keep those doors open and having us as community members support them throughout the pandemic. We have to be an intentional and inclusive city, understanding every facet. I have worked in government and nonprofit for 26 years of my career. I know nothing but serving people. I serve people with intent and with a compassionate heart, because that is what I believe in. We have to put the community voice first in every aspect of what we do. Community policing is something that must change within our community. Our police and community relationships are not very strong. So we have to be innovative in those things. I started to do police ride-alongs in 2020 to see exactly what our officers were experiencing so that I can have a better understanding. Because I don't want to rule on anything or create legislation that I don't fully have firsthand experience and knowledge of. We've got real work to do in the city of Garfield Heights, and I believe I am the best qualified candidate to do that, being the only candidate to have government experience, having led the Office of Minority Health as a director.
You have 1 minute left. You have
Okay.
1 minute.
I will wrap up and simply say, I am a resident of Garfield Heights because I love this community and I am here to serve. Again, I believe that this is a city where we can live, work, and play. My platform is surrounded by public safety, making police and community relationships stronger, a 21st century city where we have open and transparent government, and economic development where we are intentional about the businesses in our community. Thank you all for this opportunity. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. And now we'll hear from Tanisha Mack, candidate Tanisha Mack, but I need to ask if she's on or her representative. Is someone from?
Hello. Hi. Yes.
Okay, are you representing Ms. Mack?
Yes, I am.
Okay, nice to meet you. You can just state your name and you have 8 minutes.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dante Gresham. I am a graduate of Cleveland State University. I am also the campaign manager for Dr. Tanisha Mack for mayor of Garfield Heights. And we would also like to say thank you to Delta Sigma Theta on Sorority Incorporated and Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated for hosting this wonderful event. We also like to say thank you to those who have tuned in today on just this important matter on voting and making sure that everyone knows who the candidates are and what their platforms are as well. I would like to say thank you to the candidates as well, those in the race for Garfield and those in other races like Cleveland Heights and Cleveland. Dr. Mack would like to also send her apologies for not making it. Right now, she is on her way, dropping off her daughter to Michigan State University right now so that she can start her collegiate career at Michigan State. So she sends her apologies, and also want to say thank you for allowing her campaign manager to get on and also share her ideas and also platform for Garfield Heights. Like I said, my name is Dante Gresham, a Cleveland State graduate. I am also a former recipient of the Omega Psi Phi scholarship during my matriculation at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, a small liberal arts institution. And I'm also a former BPACF scholar and a former Lewis Stokes scholar through the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association. Today, Dr. Mack would like everyone to know that her platform is to enhance public safety in Garfield, create great high quality services, city services for the residents of Garfield Heights, and also enhance economic development, which is a major focus for our campaign. We also plan on focusing on promoting fiscal responsibility within the city of Garfield Heights, because that is also a major issue in Garfield right now, and also creating and greater access for our seniors and youth for programming throughout the city of Garfield. Dr. Mack is a long-term resident of Garfield. She is a homeowner in Garfield. Her kids both graduated from Garfield Heights schools and were educated by Garfield Heights schools. And education is a very important matter for Dr. Mack, as she has pursued her education, getting herself through college throughout the years, and also just received her doctorate degree just recently, and now taking her daughter to also follow in her footsteps and getting a college education. Dr. Mack is the candidate for Garfield Heights, as she plans on moving Garfield Heights forward as a city, because not only Garfield Heights has the potential to be a great city, but the residents in Garfield Heights should have the opportunity to thrive and succeed within the Garfield Heights boundaries. Dr. Mack has always been involved in Garfield Heights, in the Garfield Heights community, not only in her ward, but throughout the city of Garfield. She has put on different events, community events, throughout her tenure in Garfield. And right now, Dr. Mack, we are also getting ready to do an event, our meet and greet at Garfield Heights Library this Sunday. So she always remains steadfast and involved in the Garfield Heights community. Dr. Mack has never stopped talking to Garfield Heights residents, even if she was running for office and or not running for office. She always has stayed connected with Garfield Heights residents, leading and listening to Garfield Heights concerns and their passions throughout her time talking to residents. Dr. Mack is your candidate because Dr. Mack knows what it is to be a candidate that not only put herself through college, but knows the struggles throughout our lives, throughout her life. She can connect with different residents on different things and concerns that they have throughout the city of Garfield, because Dr. Mack knows how to relate. She knows how to put her feet in those residents' shoes to understand what their concerns is and may be, and know that she is the one that is willing and steadfast to bring in resolutions and solutions to different issues in Garfield. She plans on bringing more businesses to Garfield Heights, but not only bring them in, but ensure them that they own businesses, and if they want to move their families to Garfield, will be safe. Not only increasing our police, but also creating connectivity to our community and police, strengthening that police and community connection and relationship for Garfield Heights residents. We know that throughout this pandemic, residents in Garfield Heights have had some times where it has not been as good, but Dr. Mack is the candidate that knows how to sit and also encourage those and inspire those throughout her campaign and time in Garfield Heights. Even with me just being a recent graduate of Cleveland State University with a bachelor's in political science, Dr. Mack has always instilled into me, never give up on what you plan on doing and your career aspirations, because being steadfast on your aspirations and your goals will help others. Dr. Mack has always been a servant for her community. She loves service, she loves giving back, and she loves making sure that the concerns and just problems of the community is heard. So we like to say thank you for this opportunity. My name is Dante Gresham, and the elect Dr. Mack campaign wishes to connect with each and every one of you, and not only the people that's on here, but also we hope that you all tell other candidates and also residents in Garfield and throughout the greater Cleveland area about Dr. Mack and her concerns and also her vision for the city of Garfield. If you would like to connect with the campaign, you can reach us on social media and also on our major platforms. You can go to www.Tanisha.com to know what's going on with our campaign and know that early voting has started and we wish to get everybody out to the polls. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Graham. Next, we will hear from James, I believe it's Finney, or is it Feeney, or someone from his campaign. Is anyone from Mr. James Finney's campaign on the call? Going once? James Finney? Twice? All righty. So I just want to remind everyone that candidates from, all of the candidates from each city that's represented tonight were invited to attend. Unfortunately, some were not available. And so with that, we just want you to know that we will be moving on next to our biggest city, and that is the city of Cleveland. And so with that, I will turn it over to Judge Ron Adrian.
Thank you, Denise. And I want to thank all of the candidates who have spoken so far and have provided us with their vision for where they want to take their city over the course of the next 4 years. And that's going to be extremely useful to the people who have signed in today as they try to decide for whom they wish to cast their ballot. We now want to move to the city of Cleveland, and we'll start the candidacies by asking Mr. Justin Bibb to speak to you about what he wants to do. Mr. Bibb. Mr. Bibb. Is anyone representing Mr. Bibb's campaign?
Judge, I thought he was sending a representative. Maybe he will join before we close.
Okay, thank you. That being the case, we will move to the next candidate, who is Mr. Ross De Bello. Mr. De Bello. Mr. De Bello, is there a candidate representative from his campaign? Okay. Ask one more time, Mr. De Bello. Okay. Moving right along then. The next candidate is Mr. Bashir Jones.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate the opportunity to be here. This is really important because we know that those devastating divas of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated run this city, run this region. And there's no way that I would be crazy enough to miss that, to miss this. My campaign manager is a Delta, my political mother, Marsha Fudge, is a Delta, so the Deltas run this. So there's no way that I'm gonna miss this. As a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, I'm thankful and honored. And if it wasn't for Brother Ben Holbert, man, I would feel some type of way about, you know, those Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. But I'm not gonna mess with those brothers tonight. It is our time in this city as members of the Divine Nine, and we understand without a doubt that our founders were on a very serious mission, and they were revolutionaries of their time. It truly was creating organizations where we know that other organizations was not allowing our people, our community to become members. And our founders created organizations that lasted forever. And I believe, I truly believe, and I look at some of the people that's on this phone, as I said, I mentioned Brother Ben Holbertman, who I've admired for years, and of course our sister Meredith Turner, so many others, man. Judge Adrian, man, who's been doing phenomenal work, and all of you. Many of you raised me in the city. You raised me in the city. Many of you can remember when I was a little boy at MLK Middle School and MLK High School. And if it wasn't for people like Reverend Otis Moss Jr., who wrote my recommendation letter to Morehouse College, and Connie Harper over at the Call Post, who gave me some resources, and Mike Nelson, who at the time was leading 100 Black Men, who gave me a scholarship, and Barbara Bird Bennett, who another Delta, who if I didn't have her, I wouldn't even had the money to go into Morehouse. Why am I saying these things? I'm saying it because I'm not someone new. I'm someone that you raised. I'm someone that you told go off to Morehouse College, but don't stay in Atlanta. Make sure you come back, because the true definition of success is not how far you go, but it's about coming back and bringing others with you to freedom. We are at a crossroads in Cleveland. We are at a crossroads. We have to make a decision of what direction we will go in. You know, I've had a lot of success as a public official, but I've had more success as a public servant in the city and in this region. I was a young person who was on the front lines in regards of activism and leading the marches and fighting against injustice in our community. I've always been that voice. Many of you can remember when I was doing radio with Kim Sellers and Kim Johnson and Ronnie Duncan over there. And I'm a familiar voice, a familiar face. And all I'm asking from you is the opportunity to serve in a capacity that can truly bring about a change. As a council member in Ward 7, I want you to subtract a year from COVID and take away the fact that we haven't even reached January. And let's just roughly say that I've been a council person for, as far as working, really working, let's just say for 2.5 years. Even though I was working during COVID, but you get my point. We have brought close to $500 million into Ward 7. I had to tell somebody the other day, I know you call it Midtown, but this is the Huff neighborhood. This is the Huff neighborhood. Let me tell you what we brought to our neighborhood. The Cleveland Foundation has moved to 66 in Euclid. Cleveland Foundation. Look, we have 2 brand new hotels in the True Hilton on Euclid and Residence Inn on 101st and Chester. Brand new Signet Real Estate student housing on Ansel and Huff. The Allen Estates that's getting ready to be built on 66 and Linwood. A new library that's being built at 66 and Lexington. Magnet School, Magnet Manufacturing just took over Margaret Island on 59th and Chester, and they're bringing manufacturing jobs to our community. A brand new supermarket in Dave's Supermarket. Cross Country Mortgage, who recently chose to move to 22nd and Superior, bringing over 700 new jobs to our neighborhood. I can go on and on for 10 more projects. Why is this important? Because I did not have to be in council long to see the problem. The problem is leadership that has forgotten about the least of us. Leadership that has been silent about Black suffering. I mean, let's be honest. The reason why we have been called the most impoverished city in the nation has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with political will. Because we see Black people in leadership, but Black people are suffering more now than they have in long, long time. So Blackness is not sufficient if it is not followed with or in front of Black consciousness. Black consciousness is important. And as mayor, what we are going to do, number one, is our city services will be pristine. You should be able to go to your phone, get on a phone app, and you should be able to say, hey, there's a pothole over here on Ivanhoe, or a tree branch has fell over here on 79th and Huff, Or, we got these superhuman raccoons over here on Superior we need some help with. You should be able to go to your phone and get those answers, get the requests right to City Hall. But City Hall, we can't solve 21st century problems in the 18th century way. And we can't continue to make the same mistakes, because guess what? As I listen to many of my friends speak who are running for office across this region, we understand that what happens in Cleveland affects the whole region. And when we begin to change the perspective here, then it will resonate all across not only this region, but all across the state and all across this country. So what do we plan to do? I close with this. Number one, city services. Our customer service will be better under a Jones administration. We want to treat people with respect. And if our people, Black, white, Hispanic, all around this city are calling City Hall, because we don't call, we'll handle things by ourselves before we call anybody. So if we call you, we must really need some help. We want to get our customer service pristine. We want our city services to be better. Number two, we're going to deal with public safety. And the way that we deal with public safety is going to be in a couple of different ways. Number one, when you call 911, police should not be the only ones who come. We're going to create a mobile crisis unit filled and staffed with mental health experts, social emotional trauma experts, because daddy don't always got to go to jail. Sometimes daddy just need to walk. Sometimes mommy just need to walk. But the trauma of seeing your father and your mother put into the back of a police car and then taken to a Cuyahoga County jail that has been unconstitutional in the way that they have treated our community. This creates serious trauma. Thank you. So city services, public safety, we're gonna do a public safety, and we're gonna make sure that Black contractors do more business with the city of Cleveland. You can't start with a bottom-up approach. You gotta start with a top-down. So I thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much for your dedication to making this community a better place. I appreciate you. Please keep us in your prayers. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Council President Kevin Kelly. Is anyone from Mr. Kelly's camp? Anyone from Councilman Kelly's camp? Okay, moving right along. The next candidate that we would like to hear from is Mr. Zach Reed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate this opportunity. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I always know I'm in the right room if I'm in the right room with you, Your Honor. So I appreciate that very much for the opportunity to speak to you and all the fraternities and sororities on the line tonight. I just want to say that I appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to a robust discussion tonight and our ongoing conversation on how we're going to work together to move the city of Cleveland in a new and different and better direction. We're going to even the score, so to speak, even the landscape, the terrain of our city. We know that one side of our city is doing pretty good. We know downtown's doing pretty good. But as you are well aware, there are 34 neighborhoods in the city of Cleveland. And if we look back and recognize there are about 4 or 5 neighborhoods that are growing, that are prospering, that are moving forward. So that means there 29 aren't doing very well. We've got the resources, we've got the funding, but we don't have the leadership that stands up and says, if we can do it in Tremont and we can do it in Ohio City, Cam's Corner and downtown, we should be able to do it in Glenville. We should be able to bring economic development and jobs and opportunities and hope to neighborhoods like Collinwood and Mount Pleasant and Buckeye and Miles and Union Miles and the whole light. So we need a mayor with experience. I don't really need to lay out my experience to you. I can look on the radar screen. I can look up on the screen here and see that many of you have worked with me in the past. I've had the pleasure and honor of working with you in the past. I see Meredith Turner on the screen. As you know, when she was working for Senator Sherrod Brown, we worked hand in hand together to move forward not only my ward, not only my community, but the state of Ohio as a whole. Judge Adrian, you know, after they were putting individuals who were protesting the Tamir Rice in the 137, and they were putting them in the old vacant aviation high school, I gave you a call and we worked together to ensure that individuals who wanted to protest should not be put in vacant places like the aviation high school. And we worked together to figure out how going forward we can ensure that people had their constitutional rights to be able to protest and be able to do it freely, openly, and not be harassed by our safety forces. So I don't need to lay out that resume of my experience in that regard, because many of you know it. 11 years working for the great state of Ohio, for working for two governors, Governor Celeste and Governor Voinovich, hiring young people and training young people between the ages of 18 to 24 to work on conservation and beautification projects throughout the state of Ohio. Then working for Mayor Willie Brown in San Francisco, the first African-American mayor of San Francisco, to improve the conditions of the San Francisco Housing Authority as his intergovernmental affairs officer for the San Francisco Housing Authority, and then returning back to Cleveland to become council person in Mount Pleasant. And I was there for 17 years. And then the last 3 years, just working for the Ohio Secretary of State's office as his minority affairs coordinator. And as many of you know on this call, I know that Judge Adrian and I had ongoing conversations of how we can get more people to register to vote, those individuals that were going to be removed from the voting rolls. How can we get out there and talk to them to make sure that they could know that they had to contact their Board of Elections in some way so they would not be removed from the voting rolls. So I have a long history of working in public service, but you know, working in public service and not be able to come back and tell you about the experience I have, but not be able to lay out the achievements that I had. And many of you know of these achievements because many of you helped me along the way to make these achievements become real. One, we talk about the $11.5 million Kinsman Road project, which was the most expensive road project in the history of the city of Cleveland before the Euclid Corridor. And I got Mike White to go along to not only make it a new improved road, but we had to make it in concrete. And 20 years later, it's still a solid road. But that was my vision, not to put it in asphalt, let's put it in concrete. And it's still there today. The brick pavers that are along there, that's an African mud claw. Because as many of you know, there's no real African-American neighborhood in the city of Cleveland. I worked hard to show our African-American roots in the Mount Pleasant community, and I was well on my way to getting that done. We can look at the fact that I have all brand new schools, public CMSD schools in Ward 2. I made that something that I wanted to get done with Barbara Byrd Bennett and Eugene Sanders and Eric Gordon, that I thought our children shouldn't be hot in the summertime and too cold in the summertime and too cold in the wintertime and have to worry about the roof leaking. So all brand new schools. The fact that I was able to work with the Haslams to bring a brand new football field to John Adams. I might have went to the greatest high school in the history of high schools, John F. Kennedy, but I understood and knew that if we didn't put that football field back at John Adams, that John Adams wouldn't be the same John Adams. We know that that was the only high school on the southeast side of the city of Cleveland for an awful long time where people of color went. We know South was there, but we know that John Adams was the school of color. So I made sure that we got that football field back there. The new county building on 139th and Kinsman, the new senior building on 138th and Union, the new fire station on 131st and Union, the new 4th District Police Memorial to say thank you to those men who had lost their lives in the line of duty. That was my initiative to get that built right there on 93rd and Kinsman. Then the legislation that said no texting and driving. The fact that many of you came, many of you went on stage. I know Meredith came on many occasions to Family Unity in the Park, to Luke Easter Park, to showcase the largest urban park in the state of Ohio. People don't realize this. Luke Easter Park is the largest urban park in the state of Ohio. And I said that we would be utilizing that park. So what did I do? Every last Saturday in July for the 14 years, when I was out there, we brought family unity in the park. Well, we brought thousands, average of 15 to 20,000 individuals to see a free concert when people didn't think it could get done. I mean, when I came up with the idea that we would get it done, people thought I was crazy and out of my mind. They're going to bring 20,000 people, Black people, to Lukister Park. They're going to kill themselves. They're going to have fights. It's never going to work. Well, it worked. And we brought the OJs, and we brought the Daz Band, and we brought the Whispers and the Temptations, and we had fireworks. And I remember one time I was talking about getting rid of the fireworks because it was pretty expensive to bring family unity to the park every summer. But someone said to me, they said, Zach, Councilman, don't get rid of those fireworks. This is the only time that young Black kids might have an opportunity to see fireworks in their own neighborhood, because they can't afford to go downtown. They can't go out to the suburbs. And the fact that you brought fireworks right to your own neighborhood, right to their own neighborhood, is a testament to how you feel about the community. So as I lay out to you, I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, I've got the achievements, I know what to do on day one, and I'm asking for your support, and I'm asking for you to please vote for me to be the next mayor of the city of Cleveland. So please talk to your family and friends about that. This is, as you know, the mayor's job is the second most powerful political position in the state of Ohio. This is not a time to turn it over to someone who has no experience whatsoever, as the plain dealer says, has no experience whatsoever, but we're still gonna go along with that individual. I've got the experience, and I ask you to please support me on election day.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your words and your comments. Moving right along, the next speaker will be Senator Sandra Williams. Senator.
Thank you so much to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and to the Omega Psi Phi fraternity for this platform tonight. I really do appreciate the opportunity to come before you. My name is Sandra Williams. I am the current state senator for the 21st Senate District. I was born and raised here in the city of Cleveland, born in the Mount Pleasant area and raised in the Buckeye area. My parents came to the city of Cleveland from Aliceville, Alabama, in hopes for a better opportunity and a job that paid a living wage. My dad found that job at the Chrysler plant in Twinsburg, Ohio, which gave us an opportunity to have a middle-class income. The problem is he died when I was in the 3rd grade, leaving my mom to raise 7 children on her own. The only thing my mother asked of us is that we get a good education. I graduated from the Cleveland Public School System, John Hay High School. I went on to join the United States Army Reserve, where I served for 8 years, held leadership positions as a squad leader, platoon leader, and a sharpshooter in the military. I served as a corrections officer at the Cuyahoga County Jail, a probation officer at Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court, a parole officer for the state of Ohio, as well as a mediator for the state of Ohio. I earned my bachelor's degree in political science from Cleveland State University with a minor in criminal justice. I went on to earn a master's degree in criminal justice administration from Tiffin University, and finally a master's in business administration from Cleveland State University. Now, I have been working for the last 15 years, 8 years as a state representative, and again, as a state senator. And I have been delivering real results as a member of the minority party in the state legislature. And that is really unheard of because Republicans don't generally give money to Democrats, especially in the super minority. Some of the things that I've done so far in my career as an elected official is I was the sponsor of the Cleveland Plan. That is the bill that passed back in 2010 or somewhere around that area that changed the way we educate children in the city of Cleveland. The Cleveland public school system was going to be taken over by Governor Kasich because we were at a 47% graduation rate and in fiscal emergency. We stopped that because of the bill that I sponsored that passed. We now have a graduation rate of 80%. And if you're looking at a 5-year graduation rate, it's at 86%. For me, that is not good enough. So that is why that is a part of my platform for mayor of the city of Cleveland. I'd like to talk about the Third Frontier program, a bill that I sponsored, which was the renewal of the Third Frontier. That is the healthcare corridor you see. With the money from the Third Frontier, we have created over 500 companies in the city of Cleveland, Northeast Ohio, and thousands of jobs. That is one of the reasons why we are booming in the healthcare industry, not just in Cleveland, Ohio, Northeast Ohio, but across the country because of the Third Frontier. I'd also like to make sure we talk about brownfields in the city of Cleveland. Brownfields, as you know, are vacant and abandoned commercial properties that we have in our city. Those commercial properties, manufacturing properties that were around and provided those great jobs to our family members back in the 50s and the 60s are still sitting there. They are a public safety hazard and a health hazard. I was able to bring home $350 million in this last operating budget to clean up the brownfields, to make sure that they are ready or can be ready for new businesses to move into the city of Cleveland and those current businesses to expand. We also have over 4,000 abandoned homes in the city of Cleveland. I was able to bring home $150 million to tear down abandoned buildings, abandoned homes, so that we can build affordable homes. That is $500 million in one budget just to clean up and make our city ready for businesses and residents. I was also responsible for bringing home money for the African American Museum, the African American Cultural Gardens. I created the first ever line item for the Cleveland Port Authority, which gave them the ability to build and repair docks and other things that we needed to make sure that cargo ships that were coming in to the city of Cleveland were able to get through. And on that note, we have the Irishtown Bend. The Irishtown Bend, the rocks were falling in and our cargo ships were not able to come through. It was Sandra Williams who created or who provided the dollars, working with my colleagues in the state legislature to provide those needed dollars to the Cleveland Cuyahoga County Port Authority. Now, that's just to name a few of the things that I've done. I should also mention that myself and another member asked Governor Kasich to create the Community and Policing Task Force to deal with community and police relations. This is the first time and the only entity like this in the United States of America that is responsible for creating statewide standards to address the problems that we have in our community. We have created over 25 standards. Of course, Cleveland has not adopted any of those standards, but they are available and will be a part of my platform when elected to office. I've been involved in criminal justice reform, as that is my background, 10.5 years. So that's what I have done. As a member of the state legislature, I am responsible in part for a $77 billion budget, the money that funds all state and local operations within our state. I'm responsible for a $25 to $30 billion budget when it comes to capital improvements in the state. So I am ready on day one to balance our $1.8 billion budget. That is just a fraction of what I've been able to do. With my platform, let me just say this. I've been focusing on economic development, I've been focusing on education, and I've been focusing on public safety for the last 15 years. Under education, I talked about the Cleveland plan, but I want to go a little bit further. The state legislature created something called the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment. That means that before any of our children go into the kindergarten, they have to take an assessment. If they are not ready for that assessment, they will be labeled at that point, and that is way too early in their educational career. So I want to create a targeted program, age 0 to 3, focusing on making sure that our children are in high quality early childhood education programs so that they're ready for the kindergarten readiness assessment. The other problem is our 3rd grade reading guarantee. Before the Cleveland plan, we had over a 20% failure on the 3rd grade reading guarantee in the city of Cleveland. It is now at approximately 9%. But we cannot have 9% of our students being held back because they cannot pass the 3rd grade reading guarantee. So we will have a very intensive targeted approach to the 3rd grade reading guarantee. Third, I want to expand the Closing the Achievement Gap program. We initially created
You have 45 seconds left.
the 3rd grade reading guarantee under CJ Prentice. We will expand that program. And finally, I want to make sure children are job ready on day one. So we will implement a career-wise program, a program in the state of Colorado to address the issues that we have and make sure that when people graduate, they will graduate with experience and ready to work. Nobody should have to take on educational debt after high school unless they choose to. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I have so much more to say, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Williams. Let me just say a couple of things really quickly. First of all, I'm extremely disappointed that a number of the candidates, for whatever reason, were not able to join us this evening. I want to thank the candidates that did. Your presentations were enlightening, and I think will assist in allowing the people who are on this call to make those decisions that are so crucial in the upcoming elections. I want to also say that although there were not as many people as you might have wanted to have on this call, the people who are on this call are influencers and opinion leaders. And we all have organizations that we're associated with, to whom we are going to take what we've learned today in order to inform them of the impressions that we were left with. So as we leave this evening, we expect that we're going to spread the wealth throughout the community based upon the knowledge and the information that's been shared with us this evening. Also, the thing that I would like to further say is that because of the fact that a number of people have chosen or have been unable to join us, that leaves us with a little bit of time to further explore with those people who have put in the time with us this evening, the platforms that they put forward, and to give them an opportunity to expand a little bit on what their plans really are, because we recognize that 8 minutes is not a lot of time for anybody to actually get into the meat of what they really want to do. So I want to ask first that while we ask a couple of questions, that those people who have been sitting silently and patiently, if they have questions that have come to mind, that they enter those questions into the chat so that we can share those with the candidates and give them the opportunity to respond to your concerns. Secondly, I think that Denise and I will probably kick off with just a couple of questions with the groups that we were responsible for to give the candidates in each one of the 3 cohorts a chance to expand on some of the things they said. So with that said, let me start with the candidates from Cleveland Heights and ask them to give us a little bit of detail, if they would, about how the transition from a city manager to an elected mayor is going to affect the governance in the city of Cleveland Heights. And any one of you who wants to can step up first.
Well, I'll take the opportunity to step up first. This is Barbara Danforth again. This is certainly going to be a major transition for our city. Right now, we have a city staff that reports to the city manager. The city manager reports to the city council. Under the Danforth administration, the city staff will report to me, and I will report to our residents, because it will be the residents who in fact hire the mayor relative to who they vote for. And if in 4 years the If I have not met the expectations, they get to fire me and hire somebody else. So there will be an entirely new accountability system such that the mayor and the staff, as they should, will be directly responsible and accountable to our residents. And that is very important because one of the many complaints that we've had about our city government is it is unresponsive to the inquiries, the questions, the concerns that our citizens raise. And so it is very likely that a citizen, a resident will call City Hall to ask a question. And if the call is answered at all, there's no response. So that's unacceptable because the residents pay the salaries of the staff and the mayor. And as such, we are public servants here and hired to serve our residents. And so one of the more difficult transitional factors is transitioning the culture of our city such that our staff recognizes, and it's deeply embedded into our culture, that we are here to serve our residents. So that will be one major transition. But then our city council now operates as both the legislative and the executive branch. So this will be a very new and different responsibility for the legislature, the council, because now they will have the more traditional role of being legislators and legislators only. So that's going to require some delicate balancing of the new mayor to work with council in their new, more restricted role while working together to move our city forward. So there are many transitional issues that are very difficult that this new mayor is going to have to navigate, which again is why I am running, because I made that transitional change both in the structure and in the culture of the YWCA. For those of you who remember the YWCA, when I took over, it was about ready to go out of business for a variety of reasons. I developed a great staff. We work with our board of directors, and we turned that organization around such that it became a model in our community in serving women who are homeless and victims of domestic violence. And even today, we built a strong foundation such that here we are some 10 years later, and the YWCA is still thriving and growing. So there is a major transition, and that transitional process is difficult. It's not something that you can learn on the job, which is why I want to bring my skills and experience to this new position of mayor. And our legislators, our council people must know the full details and history of the issues. But the mayor must not only know the issues, but know how to run the $62 million enterprise that Cleveland Heights is. And those are two very different skill sets. So there are a variety of ways that the city will be operating differently, but what it will have is strong leadership, because now vested in the mayor, there will be ultimate accountability for what goes on in the city. And I've had the experience of leading organizations where the buck stopped at my desk. And so we have a great opportunity to do some new things, but we need strong, capable, and experienced leadership to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Hart. Ms. Hart, are you still with us? Okay. And I guess Mr. Siren had to go. So let me punt to Denise. And Denise, you can ask a question of the folks from Garfield Heights.
Okay. Let me see if I can catch that punt. All right. For the candidates that are still on from Garfield Heights, the question is, as Garfield Heights changes and grows, what specifically will you do as mayor to help police reform and voter education? And I'll start with, is Matt Burke still on the call?
I think he had to go.
Okay. Ms. Davis, specifically speaking to police reform and voter education in Garfield Heights. I can't see if she's on. Is she still on? Doesn't sound like it, huh? Okay.
No,
Did I hear? Oh,
no, she's not.
okay.
She's not.
All right. Do we have a representative for Dr. Tanisha Mack? I believe it was Mr. Graham. Are you still on the call?
Yeah, Mr. Gresham, yes, I'm still here.
Gresham. I apologize. The question is with regard to police reform and voter education. What Matt do as mayor to address
Well,
those?
thank you for that question. With Dr. Mack's campaign and Dr. Mack's vision, she plans on making sure that the community and law enforcement works hand in hand. Not only creating and employing more officers, but making sure that the officers know the community and know its residents, and vice versa. The community knows the officers that's representing them and protecting them, and knowing that the police knows that the residents know how to get in contact with them. We also plan on introducing initiative to bring on therapists, city therapists, one full-time therapist, and about maybe 3 or 4 volunteer therapists onto the city law enforcement, just so that, because not all calls are for the law enforcement to be activated or sent to those residents. Sometimes people just need to sit down, talk to somebody, have that person within the city to know how to reach out to them, to talk or get them through different issues, especially in the midst of a pandemic, when mental health is on the rise. People are feeling left behind or lost. Problems are going up for families because of different reasons. So that's one thing that we do plan on doing. And then also making sure we focus on substance abuse as well, because that has risen as well as we've been in the pandemic. And Dr. Mack is also knowledgeable about that, as she works within that field through criminal justice, and is also a substance abuse counselor currently. On the verge of increasing voter turnout with the campaign right now. We've increased voter turnout, not only increasing voter turnout, but just increasing voter education has been a big part of the campaign, educating people on when is elections, what's the dates, how can you plan effectively to make sure you make it to the polls, or if you can't make it to the polls on election day, how can you plan to go vote early? That's why the campaign has made sure that we focused on making sure residents know that early voting has started already. We do plan on making sure registering more people to vote is important. We focused on that with our campaign as well. And that's what we planned on continuously focusing on, and also our youth, getting our youth involved as well.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay, getting our youth involved as well, and making sure that our youth know that their voices matter and their votes do matter, and they also count to bring in change for their particular cities, whether it be Garfield or throughout the United States. Dr. Mack has always been a mentor to different youth throughout the community as well, to make sure that they know that they can make it just like she has. And she's been through so much. So she serves as that inspiration for our youth in Garfield.
I hate to cut you off, but we want to give everybody an opportunity to be heard, and we've been joined by another candidate. So Mr. Ross De Bello has joined the forum. Mr. De Bello, if you would care to introduce yourself and give us a short bio and a little bit as it relates to your platform.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm Ross De Bello. I used to ride an elevator with Judge Adrian at the Justice Center. I was at the Justice Center for the Honorable Judge Cassandra Williams from about 2012 until COVID hit. I worked for her at her law office. The law offices of Sandra Williams from the end of 2009 to 2012. Before that, being at the Justice Center, I'm a Northeast Ohio boy. I've been in Northeast Ohio, or Cleveland or the suburbs my whole life, except the 4 years I was at Ohio State. But being at the Justice Center and watching felony court all day, and knowing this is Cleveland, knowing we came to #1 in the nation in child poverty and poverty, being a political, guy, volunteered for a couple of presidential candidates, and of course helping Judge Williams get elected to the bench, thinking that City Hall is there's kind of some bad influence there, and the political system doesn't work, and hoping that we could attack some of those crime problems, those poverty problems, lead paint poisoning problems, infant mortality problems. I just wanted to propose change, and I knew that I could work hard to get on the ballot and say the things I've been saying at the debates, and try and impose change, be a change agent for the city of Cleveland. And that's what I'm doing. I'm an attorney, and I was with Judge Collier Williams for a long time, and I watched her make a change and a difference, and break barriers and do the unthinkable. And I said, she's very inspiring to me, and so that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Okay, can you give us a little bit of background as to let's just make it laser focus. And if you're elected to be the mayor, what do you see as the preeminent thing that the next mayor of the city of Cleveland has to accomplish?
We've got to get people out of poverty, in my opinion. The poverty rate is very low, or the poverty level is very low. It's like $21,700 for a family of 3. To have a third of your population there under that level, to have 50% of your children, right? Children have no say over what zip code they're born into. I think that poverty is the biggest bad domino. And so for me, it's about stimulating the economy from border to border, all the neighborhoods that's been disinvested in. And so that's it, to put money and meaning in Clevelanders' lives. That would be the #1 thing, to lower, to reduce the poverty rate.
And what would be the engine to drive that?
A different fiscal priorities. So right now, we give a lot of our tax dollars to mortgage lending companies, sports teams. We have the tax abatement, which was put in place to spur development. Now, really, it's just kind of raising people's rents and making some wealthy people more wealthy. So we have a wealth divide business mentality in Cleveland, and we've got to start demanding those with more to do more, right? And investing in Lee Harvard, in Slavic Village, in Glenville, in West Park, all the places that I feel have been left behind. So small businesses instead of big businesses, ground up instead of top down.
Thank you. Denise, I think there was a question from that was given to us by the audience.
I think we're still waiting on that question in.
I have the question. I can read it for you.
Okay.
Can I do that? Okay. All right. The gentleman that sent it said that his name is Marquise Frost. The following question is for the Cleveland mayoral candidates. We have seen positive development in a select few of our Cleveland neighborhoods like Tremont, Larchmere, Ohio City, etc. If elected as mayor of Cleveland, what will you do to bring safety and revitalization to other wards and neighborhoods that have been left behind?
Anybody want to take that first?
I think we're giving that question to Ms. Senator Williams. She's
Okay.
From Cleveland.
Thank you very much. How many minutes do we have to answer the question? Yeah.
Well, you've got 10
right?
minutes before we bring this to a close.
Okay, so
you
I'll
can kind of
take it
gauge
in
from
1 or
that.
2 minutes. All right. So for safety, I have a plan that was implemented in the city of Cincinnati called the Pivot Program that reduced violent crime by 68% back in 2013, 2015. Their crime was much higher than ours in the city of Cleveland. And I would like to implement that program. Of course, I don't have time to go into it, but be more than happy to send you the details on that. Expanding community policing or putting community policing back in place is another part of that. But to address crime in general, from the statistics that I have and the people that I know who are still working in criminal justice, most of the crime that is being committed in the city of Cleveland is being committed by people 25 years and younger. So we have to do something about the educational system that we talked about, job training that I've been working on for a very long time, our housing, and just building up our communities. And as far as building up our communities, listen, I want to work directly with the community development corporations who have told me, all of them, that they have been left behind and not had a seat at the table with the current mayor. I want to white box our storefronts in our community to make sure that when a business is ready to open, they are ready to go. Secondly, I want to use our power with the financial institutions. If we are putting our money in the financial institutions in this community, those institutions need to be helping me build small businesses, minority businesses. We're going to use our leverage to make sure that we are providing the necessary resources to businesses who are ready, and venture capital to businesses who are ready to expand in the city. I want to create a one-stop shop for small businesses so that they are not going from economic development to planning to community relations to permits. It will be a one-stop shop. We will get rid of the red tape when it comes to City Hall. And building affordable housing. People tell me that it's not doable. It is doable. I have been meeting with developers who do this for a living, and we will build workforce or affordable housing in the city of Cleveland. And then finally, I will close with this. I know too many companies who are front companies in the city of Cleveland. The city of Cleveland is majority African American, and we have too many women who are really good business owners. Women and minorities will not have to be front companies under my administration. We will get contracts. You will get contracts through the city of Cleveland if I have to make them and break them down to a small 5 or 10% contracts. What I need from minority businesses is to get ready. Get ready. Make sure you have a bank account in your business's name. Make sure you are registered with the state. We are streamlining that process now, but we will be an inclusive city hall that will be building not only the east side, but those forgotten neighborhoods on the west side. Thank you so much.
Mr. De Bello, would you like to speak to that question?
Yeah, I somewhat forget the question, but I think it was about investment in the neighborhoods that have been left behind and policing and law enforcement. For one thing I'm proposing is the starting or the nest eggging of a public bank so that low income individuals can get, guaranteed good faith, non-predatory financing. Many other states and cities have done this, and it does help lift up the social safety net. As far as policing goes, I want to make sure that police are doing the things that we need them to do only, right? So mental health, homelessness, marijuana, fare evasion, these are things that I don't want Cleveland Division of Police to be focused on. Sex crimes, murder, unfortunately, things like that is where we need. So currently 67% of calls require an armed response. That leaves 33% where we're not having the police we have because they're handling code enforcement issues, substance abuse issues, things of that nature. So, and mental health. So I want to look at the Muni Code, which Judge Adrian probably knows better than me at this time. And we'll see what we can take off CDP's plate And then we can reallocate where some of our officers are at, do a new version of the mini stations. And the last thing I want to do about investing in the neighborhoods that have been left behind is utilize the vacant properties as an opportunity to put these kids, these people that are under the age of 25 to work, like State Senator Sandra Williams said, right? Getting the trades and then them making the money for repurposing these houses, carpentry, painting, electric, plumbing, right? A mentorship program and networking program with either retired professionals or just skilled volunteers to help, 16 to 25-year-olds use that as an opportunity to find the money and meaning that they need while creating affordable housing, beautiful housing, and cleaning up our environment, in some of these places. I think it's a great opportunity. So those, I think those hopefully are answers to that question.
Okay, thank you. And it does. Meredith, you have something that you need to put in front of the assemblage.
Absolutely. Thank you, Judge. While I'm waiting for Cicely to pull up the website, I just want to, first of all, thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you for your attention. I just want to ask you to turn your attention for the moment to a very important educational tool that is designed to help meet your most urgent voting needs. And this is the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections website. It's here in front of you. And I just want to help you understand how to navigate this a little bit. I'm a Delta every day, all the time. But in the daytime, I moonlight as an election official for the Board of Elections. I work in the ballot and tabulation department where we manage vote by mail process and everything related to a ballot. We get a lot of phone calls about questions that could be answered just by going right here. So I just want to empower you with this information, not because I don't want to talk to you. You can call me for sure. But I just want to point this tool out to you. You can do all types of things like find out where you vote by going to where do I vote? It's just asking you to put your address in and hit view, and it will bring up your polling location. Well, I think the next screen, which we're not going to go through that, would bring up your polling location. So this is very important. We get a lot of calls on election day from people asking, where am I voting? You can also find your voting information. So that's a tool that helps you understand like what district you live in, be it your city or county, your congressional district, and just put your name in there and it would pull up. Oh, you're gonna do it, Cicely? So click your name. You would click on your name. And it shows you everything about your voting record, where you live, your polling location, your district information, and even your voter participation history. We had somebody call the other day looking for some type of information about their voting history. And so they were able to go here and just print this out. And I think it was for a job. You can register to vote here, be that for the first time or updating your address if you've moved. You can vote by mail. You can go here and you can select you can input the information directly into the website by going to this area here by putting in your last name and your birthday. It will also give you an option to just submit it directly to the Board of Elections, which will come to my department and we would mail one out to you directly, or you can print it at your home and put it in the mail. People often get confused about this process here. They will call us and say, well, they requested their ballot. No, they requested their application. Once you get your application and we verify all the information on your application, then we will send you a ballot. But this is just one part, one step of the process. You can, once you request an application, you can track it by going to track my ballot. You can track your application there as well. we will let you know that we have received it and that it has been processed. But you can also track your ballot. If you would go to that portal, Cecily. Again, you can do two things there. You can track your application. You same information, last name, birthday. You can track your ballot and your application there. You can declare, you can change your party affiliation. There's information about military and overseas voting, and as well as provisional balloting, provisional voting. So I just want to give you the early voting hours at the Board of Elections. So this week, or August 17th, that's when we started early voting. August 17th through September 3rd, our hours are 8 to 5 p.m. Starting September 7th through the 10th, we will be open from 8 to 7 p.m. We're only open that last Saturday before Election Day, and that's Saturday, September 11th. It's hard to forget that date. We'll be open from 8 to 4. We're also open on Souls to the Poll Sunday, which is September 12th. We're open from 1 to 5 p.m. So for all the candidates on, want to tell the people that are voting for you, they can vote on Saturday and Sunday. And the last day to vote in person early is on Monday, September 13th, 8 o'clock. We close at 2. So just a tip, if you have requested a ballot by mail and you decide that you want to vote in person, that's fine, but you have to do it during the early voting period in order for your ballot to count. If you show up on election day having requested a ballot by mail, they're going to make you vote provisional. So don't do that. Make sure you have a voting plan, be it the early in-person voting at the Board of Elections. Our address there is 2925 Euclid Avenue. You can request your ballot by mail. We always stop taking applications for vote by mail the Saturday before Election Day. So I think that is the September 11th. That is way too late to submit an application to receive a ballot by mail. You are not going to get it on time. Of course, Election Day is Tuesday, September 14th. The polls will open at 6:30 and they will close at 7:30. So if you are in line at 7:30, please stay there. You will be allowed to lawfully cast your ballot. And then finally, I just wanted to make some acknowledgments to the other co-chair. Judge Adrian is one of the co-chairs. Rufus Hurd, Brother Rufus Hurd, co-chair of the Voter Registration, Education, and Mobilization Committee from the Zeta Omega chapter. I saw Brother Jawan Robinson from the Xi Chi chapter, which is the Akron chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I saw the first vice president of the Greater Cleveland Alumni chapter. I believe Melanie Frazier is on with us, as well as our second vice president, Cherie Coleman Daniels. Thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. I think I also saw Essence Duche, who is a member of our Greater Cleveland Delta Foundation Life Development Center. And I think that is it for acknowledgements. And Brother Adrian, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Soher Turner. I'm going to try to be quick because I know we're already over time. But the women of Delta Sigma Theta and the men of Omega Psi Phi wish to extend their most heartfelt thanks to the candidates who shared their current views and their visions and wisdom for the future this evening. Most particularly, though, we want to thank all of you who took the time to energize us by giving us your engagement with this process, to become better informed, and in order to be in the position to cast an intelligent ballot on Election Day. In reality, you, the voters, are what this process is all about. It's you who decide, through your participation or lack thereof, what kind of society we live in. Nationally, in 2016, 156 million people voted in the presidential election. Nationally, in that same election, approximately 765,000 fewer Blacks voted than did in 2012. That number represented the steepest voter decline of any ethnic group in the country, and the first time that Blacks had fewer people to vote. The election was decided by 77,000 votes cast in 3 states. And those were states where the number of Black voters who decided to stay home because they thought their votes didn't matter, actually altered the course of world history. The enemy is apathy. You've taken the first step towards defeating it. The men of Omega and the women of Delta encourage and implore you to take the next couple of steps to ensure that our community's victory over apathy is complete. Vote, and then make sure that everyone that you know recognizes the power that they wield when they do the same. Thank you for your attendance and your attention. God bless you. God bless America. And we'll see you at the polls. With that, we'll bring this forum to a close, and thank you again.
Thank you all.
We'll have the planning committee members stay on for a minute, please.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I forgot you, Grover.
That's okay. The camera's still running, right?
Yeah, you say it now.